This region around the Great Lakes has been called the heartland. When it comes to agriculture, there's hardly an area in the world that compares.
Everybody, just hold on. I don't know what we're going to have here.
That's what brings the viewers back. That a boy.
Manage money, piling in.
Double digits higher.
So at this point, we're in kind of uncharted territory.
There's a lot of money on the sidelines.
So that was a crazy one.
Good morning, everybody. It's Friday, August 8th, and this is the AgYield War Room. I'm Dan Dempsey, and I'll be moderating today's session. As always, if you get any questions or comments, please feel free to drop us a line in the chat area. We'll be sure to get to it during the show. Overnight markets here at September corn down a half at 384. September soybeans were down 3 1/4 at 970 3/4. And September Chicago wheat was unchanged at 518 1/4. This morning, the USDA announced the sale of 125,000 metric tons of corn to unknown destinations for 25. Good morning, guys. Really, anything fresh in the way the news looks to be a little drier for the 2-week outlook here. In this morning's weather run, we certainly got a spell of heat here for the next 7 to 10 days as well. So we'll have to see once again, as we've talked about a number of times, the 2-week and beyond forecasts have been terrible this year. They've been unreliable, and so we'll have to really see what shakes out. With that, we'll put a bow on the week here. Maybe a few thoughts to start us off, Dustin, and we'll throw around the room.
Yeah, so I think, kind of visualizing the yesterday's sales. This is just a ranking of accumulated new crop sales by this date. So week 48. 2024 is number 2 on the list, right? And this is coming off of also accumulated exports at number 2 as well, only surpassed by, the 2020 marketing season in July 2021, when China was all of a sudden overnight the world's biggest buyer of corn. So I think the importance of the fact that we were talking a little bit before the show, the importance of the fact that we are competitive should not be lost on the market right now for corn. We're doing a ton of business. I think the market's doing its job. It's finding that demand for these lower prices. So I want to kind of keep that in mind as everyone is kind of getting out and start doing yield checks. Things are pretty bearish, obviously, because yield projections are quite high. But there is a silver lining to this, which is we actually start using this stuff faster when prices are cheaper.
Yeah, that's a good point. Justin, any thoughts as we wrap up the week?
Yeah, just to that point. I mean, I think I think you had a demand worry for a point there, just with the big safrinha crop. And I do think eventually we'll run into some competition from there, but right now we're doing a ton of business. So, the real, ultra bears, I'll call them, are kind of bearish demand and bearish supply. And I think, the demand bears are kind of losing steam here, so we're finding good demand. We've got, we're doing good ethanol exports. We've had a really good demand base and we're breaking in. So now it's kind of like, okay, we got this, we traded, what if it's 188, what if, we kind of had that blowout, a couple of days ago. Now you're kind of getting people into the fields. You're seeing some issues, maybe it's a lot of little issues. There's obviously been really good weather and there's really good crops, but have we overshot it? And I think that's the question, as people start to go in the fields. And we talked about this yesterday, get good anecdotal evidence. We do have several clients that have decent tip back, corn that's denting early, not that they're bad crops by any means, but are they as big as we're trading already? And we've broken into this, big demand with potentially some still big trade deals out there, kind of looming. It's that time of year. It's August, right? It's when we tend to have to puke old crop corn, a lot of old crop corn bushels moving, making room for new crop corn. It's that big seasonal where you tend to kind of try to find a low. And I think we're in that process right now. So Obviously it could go lower. We could, end up realizing a 188 or even higher yield. It's possible. It's also possible that we overshot it into a lot of demand. And then those things that we've been talking about, those natural forces of PLC, crop insurance, etc., just prevent more farmers than normal from having to sell. So I think it's going to be an interesting month here. See how we end.
I got, I think I sort of know the answer, but I just wanted to get confirmation, Justin, that there was a question yesterday with that big unknown destination in the sales report. When do you generally see, or do you generally see that come to fruition? They'll just change, unknown to a certain destination and, down the road
generally like when it's shipped.
when it's shipped. Okay.
I mean, it could change before that, but generally it's unknown until it's shipped.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I think that's on everybody's mind.
Yeah, a good rule of thumb usually, Dan, is to keep the same quantities that are actually known segregated as unknown. So if China is in for 10 million metric tons and 30% of the sales are unknown, it might be another 3 going to China. Not always the case, but something to know. We don't really have anything on the books for China yet. This is why this is kind of interesting. It's the last time we hit those. There's 2 other weeks that were a record sales date, and those were both in May of 21, or sorry, April of 21, I believe. They were both to China, right? They're big framework deals. This 1.2 million unknown that showed up yesterday, that's I think where the market's getting kind of excited. Like, what could that be?
But we also did a lot of unknown last year to Mexico.
Yeah, that's true.
We've done unknown to Japan. So it's just kind of stupid that they don't have to say who it's to.
Because they know it is.
Yeah, or it's a multinational that's buying it, right? It says, I don't know, we might ship it to Japan or China or,
yeah.
I mean, so it is what it is. But
well, I was looking.
The good news is it's there. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, amen to that. I was looking this morning, so I know you've talked about it a number of times, Justin, on the importance of ag in these trade deals. And you look at our exports trailed our imports for ag by 4.1 billion in June, and so we're starting to see, a bigger and bigger trade deficit. I mean, our trade deficit in ag right now is 28.6 billion, and I have to believe that what this administration has said. I mean, he wants to eliminate or reduce all trade deficits. So you just wonder if this is going to become a bigger and bigger target, as he starts doing these deals, because it's only getting wider without business to China and some of these countries,
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to see how, obviously China's a big one.
Mm-hmm.
Mexico, Canada. I mean, they're already big trade partners. So I don't know how much more they can do on that front. Obviously, there's probably other products they could open up. I think India is a big sticking point. I think that's why he's hammering India so hard. Is on the ag sector. They limit a ton of our products from entering their markets. I know that they even talked about hiking, for example, import duties or tariffs on U.S. soybean oil, but they're pausing just because of, I think, current conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very protective of their farmers, and I think so are we. So I think get to see how all that plays out, and I think a lot of these deals, seem to be focused around energy, at least in the headlines. And I don't know it's hard to know what's actually in there besides that. I have to assume that there's some ag focus in there. I mean, he ran on a lot of ag focus,
Mm-hmm.
so like I said, I think it's gonna be interesting if we're trading a super big crop, no demand. Do we look in the rear view mirror 3 months from now and be like, wow, that was, it does have a little bit, no 2 years are the same, but I do remember, when China was aggressively buying U.S. corn and the market shrugged it off, and something that we'd been waiting on since I started trading. We've been waiting on this for 20 years. China's buying, 30 million tons of corn, and the market's like, we have too much anyway. Ended up being a very bullish scenario, but
Yeah.
I was taught early on never get too bearish on demand.
Mm.
So because prices will find a way to to move it. So
I think
Sure.
also I wanted to kind of touch on one thing too, Dan. Did we go through the seasonal chart yet? Jack, if you pull it up. If we've already done this, let me know. But
No, this
this
is new.
yeah, so this is a December corn seasonal. So this is not lead month contract, just the December corn over the course of a marketing season. So November of the prior year till first notice day. The blue line is your 20-year data from 05 to 24. The orange line is also part of that same data, right? But it's just the more present window, 2014 till now. And what I think is really interesting is that, your typical seasonal over a 20-year period, that gut slot low comes like right when you'd expect it to, like early October. And, we're talking about maybe a 5% above average to a 6% below or 4% below, your 8, 9, 10% drop during the year from high to low. Our latest, our recency data is showing that like that seasonal is coming earlier and it's coming much deeper and much stronger. So the drawdowns are happening more like a end of August timeframe in more present time. And, you could come up with a lot of theories as to why that's happening. But I think that we've mentioned it on the show a couple of times, end of the line for old crop. A lot of commercials will not allow basis only contracts or old crop bushels to be rolled after the September first notice day. So that's the last trading day in August is first notice day. And I don't think it's any coincidence. We hit the low last year, a couple of days before that we are kind of forced into the situation is that you're kind of cramming growers to make the same decision all within a very short period of time. Those calls are happening now. Old crop basis contracts need to be cleaned up by the end of the month. And I can't help but think that while past results are not indicative of what's going to happen next, that is a phenomenon that's happening still.
I would add one factor to that, which is crop insurance. You know, where you bottom early and you rally into when crop insurance is being set. And I think that's, I don't think I'm not the manipulation tinfoil hat guy. I think it's just a natural force. It's similar to, Ben would say this, right? When there's huge strikes of open put options, for example, when there's lots of open interest at certain strikes, the market tends to settle around those areas, right? So when you're in the money, when there's a theoretical put strike because of, billions and billions of bushels that are owned via crop insurance, I think the market, you have those, you have that first notice day phenomenon where you're dumping old crop corn. And then you have this, where you're setting the crop insurance harvest price in October. I think that's just two natural things that happen at those times of year. So I think those are two different factors. And I think crop insurance is such a much bigger piece of the pie than it was, call it more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Ben, something to add there?
Yeah, I love the conversation about the rally in the month of October and how it's come at different times and the conspiracy theories that can sometimes circulate around it. But I think it comes back to the natural seller and the natural offer in the market doesn't see the incentive to put offers in there if they're deep in the money. So conversely, the people that have been short forever and are looking to cover, all of a sudden there's kind of a void of actual offers. And you couple that with a lot of people that will deliver on basis contracts at low prices, it removes a lot of the natural offer. So I do think that there was a lot of reason on paper this year for people to be in basis contracts with what we were seeing for stocks, but ultimately the new crop bearishness of really ideal weather in a lot of places overcame that. So my gut is that there's a lot that has to be reconciled between now and the end of the month. So, there's good demand going on. I expect I don't see a reason why the short would start to exit today. But I think that once you strike that, sometime from, early 20th of August to the end of the month, I think it probably starts to become a little bit of a different game. And with the size of crop we have, it may take a while to clear it. but the demand is encouraging. Multiple people buying corn. These are not one-offs where it's one big flash sale. It's multiple people buying, and we want to keep that going, and hopefully we find out we don't have quite as big of a crop as projected, and we can put ourselves in a situation rather quickly where people start looking around and going, you know what, we got a long way to work through this. So I see some positives, but I think we got to get through that end of the month and purge on the set.
Very good. Ryland, let's move real quick over to Livestock. September futures for feeders are up $15.70 in 4 sessions, which is incredible. Almost
Pretty impressive.
A record. Yeah. And then one thing to touch on in the hogs, I wanted to get your opinions too. They're, more and more stories gaining steam on how they're going to trim their herd through sow reductions. So I think that was a kind of a big topic here this morning. So love to get your thoughts to wrap the week.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's been a big one in the cattle market. Still new highs, new record highs, still going. No real end in sight. And just since the beginning of the week, we've really seen the beef market just explode. Just since the 50% tariffs just slapped on Brazil, it seems like there's a lot of concern that there's going to be either some kind of beef shortage, or we're just seeing a mad dash to get what you need kind of locked in right now. So, the beef market is really been the big leader here for the most part. Open interest is actually down a little bit yesterday, so I think we are finally starting to put the squeeze on the shorts a little bit. But overall, still waiting for cash to pick up here. We've seen some 237 in the south, and offers are holding at 238, 240. So it feels like anything under those offers is going to be seen as slightly disappointing. We need to see the north kind of pick up as well. So there's still just kind of this wait and see approach right now, I would say, to cash. Overall, it's been a big move. I would not be surprised to see anybody that bought it early this week try to capture that kind of profit here by the before the weekend here. But overall, every little bit of weakness has been bought. Any big down day has been bought. There just isn't really an end in sight, and it's hard to say if there is, a price that people will not pay at this point. So I think you priced in a lot of good news here for the week. But overall, it still seems like the trend is still shift. There has not been a big shift there. And then the hog side, I saw a little bit of weakness here. Just a little bit of follow through. We fell right down to test the 20-day moving average support levels, and it still seems that news is generally still favorable, a little bit mixed. We had cash down $2.50 yesterday at 111.12, and then carcass back up. So it still seems like you got a little bit of push and pull here, but overall the seasonal sentiment is, even though it's still a little bit on the negative side, you baked a lot of that kind of already into the October basis. So just feels like that's what we're trading right now. I imagine that we still try to hold support in general. But yeah, we see these stories all the time about China trying to regulate the hog herd, sow herd reductions, those kind of things. It's kind of like, sure, we'll see what happens kind of thing. Usually when they go into a liquidation, our markets seem to really like to rally, especially if there's some kind of disease going on. So it just seems like if this is their way to try to influence our price or influence their own price, it seems like they're always kind of up to something. But obviously liquidation isn't going to help their prices right now. In the interim, it will help them down the road. Ultimately seen as probably a supportive factor. Timeline is definitely uncertain. Obviously they're trying to get their producers to stay in a profitable kind of mode where they've been generally kind of break even, if not maybe some small losses here, but they have to have the supply. So it's kind of, they have government support and programs to kind of help their farmers. I don't see it having a huge impact unless we really see them starting to come after our supplies, which we did see last week. They were an ample buyer of pork. But, that needs to stay pretty consistent. And right now, I think everybody's kind of hoping that maybe a trade deal really does give that a boost, down the road, especially in the deferred contracts. But right now, profit margins are really good for the U.S. hog farmer. So it seems like that's really got to be the focus right now, instead of outguessing what China's got to do with their own herd.
Very good.
Well, the green guys jumped off. I stayed with you, Ryland.
Yeah, thanks.
I was going to say,
guys.
we're losing.
I didn't bail on you.
Wow.
I listened to the whole thing.
All right. I know where they are.
When it goes up every day on the meat side,
they're sick of your bullish bull BS.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry guys.
Yeah,
It's a bull market. What can you
That's
do?
basically, if you go to X right now, that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
It's the cattle guys versus the corn guys.
And it's hard for somebody just to get into cattle now. There's a lot of talk
Yeah,
to that.
yeah.
You know, it's an aging population, and you know we got to get some new blood in here. So maybe it stays profitable for another
Yeah.
couple of years. Let's keep it going.
Yeah.
Don't worry to the grain guys. We give Ryland enough of the BS during the week to make up for it.
Yeah.
So.
Trust me, I get enough.
Cattle prod.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, the three of us made it, guys, to Friday. So
Congratulations.
this is going to be a real fun one. So Brian Williams, as everybody knows, is way older than all of us, and he's got kids going to college, and so he sends his best. But we brought Jack in to bring us to the close here with Fun Fact Friday. So let's see what we got here, Jack.
Thanks, Dan. Always a pleasure to fill in for Brian on Fun Fact Friday. It seems like these last few weeks you guys have been begging for something to spice up the grain market. So I've taken upon myself to make today's Fun Fact Friday all about hot sauce, hot peppers, and the science behind spiciness. So let's talk about hot sauces. Hot sauces like Dave's Insanity Sauce, which I just realized has a warning sign that says great cooking ingredient for soups and stews. Also, strips wax floors and removes driveway grease stains. So now any guy could just come on here and talk about hot sauces, but it takes a scholar and a gentleman to immerse himself in the subject matter. So cheers to you guys.
Oh God, no! Don't really do that.
No.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, yummy. Okay. All right. So, instant regret. Okay, here we go. Here are my fun facts on hot sauces. The chemical compound that makes things spicy is called capsaicin. It is it's nature's natural defense mechanism, right? People say that it's because of insects. It's actually because of mammals. Mammals have really complex digestive systems, and it stops the seeds of the peppers from getting through. Oh my God, this is the worst idea I've ever had. Okay. So, but that backfired a lot because the global hot sauce market is valued at like $4.1 billion. Ooh, okay, I'm good. Tabasco alone produces 700,000 bottles of hot sauce a day. We measure spiciness with something called the Scoville scale. It was invented by a guy named Wilbur Scoville in 1912. He would basically dilute pepper extracts with sugar water, and the number of dilutions it took to get through it, that would make the Scoville units. Oh my God. Okay. Ghost peppers, the first pepper to break 1 million Scoville units. The Trinidad scorpion pepper is at 2.6. There's another pepper called Pepper X.
Are you okay?
I'm not okay.
You see your lips burning.
This concludes Fun Fact Friday. Thanks for having me. Goodbye.
Wow, you just set the bar really high for Brian.
Is he going to turn it off? Is he going to stop it?
I think he's just going to run to grab some milk right now.
He just ran out of the office. I don't know what's happening.
We don't know how to end this, so.
Well, anyway, let's. I guess we'll get a read out here. September corn's down 2 at 382 3/4. September beans are down 4 3/4 at 969 1/4. And September Chicago wheat's down 1.5 pennies at 516 3/4. Speechless. We appreciate everybody that tunes in on a daily basis. If you wouldn't mind, throw us a like and certainly subscribe. Doesn't cost you anything to do so, and it'll keep you up to speed on everything that's going on with the AgYield. So again, thanks to everybody that supports the show. We're doing this live every day that the markets are open on X, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live, 8:15 Central Time. We hope Jack's okay, but we'll appreciate the thoughts and comments here this morning, guys. It was a good show, and hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll talk to you again on Monday.
The War Room is proudly presented by AgYield. For over 50 years, the AgYield team has provided grain marketing and risk management solutions for growers across the country. Our veteran consultants harness cutting-edge technologies to pinpoint risk, optimize market performance, and protect your farm's profitability. Discover a new approach to farm revenue management at agyield.com.
Hey guys, Jack here. Be sure to support the show by hitting the like button, leaving us a comment, and subscribing to the channel for all the latest updates. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.